I hope everybody's doing well on this Thursday morning. This is Integrated Education and Training 101, building a WIOA aligned program. And we are working towards building an integrated IET program. This is really sort of a base um, bucket of information. So this is sort of like the beginning level of IET instruction. But if you are new to a program, this is a really good one. If you are an experienced IET provider, please stick around. Hopefully, you'll pick up on something, and in the breakout rooms, you'll be able to share some insights as well. So, my name is Matthew Brown. I am the Career Director of Career Pathways and ESL instruction, and also I do the ILCE grant. So, I am steeped in IET involvement here. All right. So the Rebecca Loli is with me here today also, and so I am going to let her begin the conversation on the IET playbook project.
Great. Can you all see me and hear me okay?
Looking good.
Great. Awesome. I was hopping from meeting to meeting and didn't get on in time to check my tech today. So thanks for your patience. We realized we've been doing a lot of work with the integrated education and training um, playbook kind of showcase events at some different colleges that have just been fantastic. But also realize not everyone can get to everything, and it is valuable to have a recording where we can go back and reference, and staff that aren't able to make it to the showcase events still have an access point to hear what the current IET conversation is and just develop a baseline understanding. So today's session, as Matthew probably said, is just covering the basics. But I do want to let you know that there is an IET playbook project that is coming to a close here in June, where 4 colleges received some additional funding from the system office through Title II funds to kind of become the regional mentors or leaders for IETs. So to grow the IETs that they have, to build new IETs, and to serve as professional development leads for the other organizations that might want to reach out and come and visit or see what they have going on, or have someone to call and talk to. So we are working with those colleges. Blue Ridge is the last one to host a showcase event that'll be coming up. I think it's April 21st. Is that right? I don't have it right in front of me. It's coming up this month, later this
Yeah,
month.
that's correct. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
So don't miss it. Come if you can. We're also going to be publishing an IET playbook, and that's pushed a little bit later in the year than we had originally anticipated because of some of the accessibility requirements that are coming into play here this month. So we just want to make sure that everything is going to be compliant before it's released. So our goal is to help, of course, all of our students get family sustaining wages and access growing careers. There's a lot of talk at the federal level and at the state level about being, first in workforce development in North Carolina. I think adult ed is a really important piece of that. And there's just so much conversation around it in terms of how we are assigning value to things right now, or is very workforce focused. And so I also want to just always give voice to the fact that workforce participation is very important and can be life-changing, and the paycheck is fabulous. And that's not the only way that adult educators define value or that our students are seeking value. So I recognize that, and I just want to give space to that, but also emphasize that, we're highlighting this because this is, where the federal and the state priority shifts are underscoring it, and it's great work. It's very exciting. And for those of you who ever liked to go on field trips, and go to different, go to a farm, go to a factory. This is that kind of work all day long, and it makes it really exciting because you're taking students into new environments and teaching them new skills and helping them get into new careers. So it's very exciting. I'm glad you're here with us today, and we'll jump right in, and feel free to ask questions as we go along.
All right.
Leave,
Thank thank you,
leave
Rebecca.
the registration info for the IET showcase at Blue Ridge in the chat.
Correct.
That'll be great. All right, so today's agenda, we are going to look at first, why North Carolina is investing in IETs. Second is what is an IET and what is not an IET. And I think it's always good to have that contrast. Third, we're going to look at what is a strong program design looks like, look at schedules and how all the concurrent pieces work together. And then fourth, we're going to look for some common problems in development and implementation. And then finally, we're going to look at the practical next steps for our programs. This is, like we've said, an overview sessions, but I hope that you leave here with a stronger shared understanding and at least one practical next step moving forward. All right, so for today, one of the things that we're going to discuss is why IETs matter, and they matter for several different reasons. One is that for the learners, it shortens that distance between basic skills needs and that real work credential. If the student waits for to finish one before beginning the other, sometimes they'll take that gap year between and not make it where it is a consistent educational progress and progression. And so instead of waiting to complete all their basic skills, we have them enter the training beforehand. And this creates a model where the student and support can happen for the student all together. Now, it also helps for providers. It builds a clearer bridge between college and career readiness, continuing education, and our workforce partners. In many places, all of those things are really strong programs, but getting them to work together is what our goal is here, is to help our students realize the full potential of and the options available for them at the college. For the state, IT strengthens the credential attainment across the board. Measurable skill gains increase, local workforce alignment increases, and it helps connect adult education to the real labor market needs, which create stronger outcomes. ITs are not just a program model, it's a way of organizing instruction and partnerships around a real outcome for the student. All right. So IETs work through a strong connection between three different components. And these components happen during a shared period of instruction. So we're working at this near the same times to build our students that support that they need to be successful. Basic skills instruction is contextualized to the work and training assignments in the class. And that means the students are not just working on reading, writing, and math and language instruction in isolation. They're working with the content of the IT programs that they're working in, that occupational content and the expectations of the training. And so we're building those two things together. A single set of learning objectives cross over these and tie all these parts together. This helps the team align instruction together and build it side by side rather than separate. And so that is built from the instructors working together to make sure that those programs align. They need to be able to identify assignments where they are helping build artifacts and that weekly instructional connection that helps those students continue their growth. This becomes visible in the IET, and it's not just these pieces exist in isolation, but the student feels like they're connected across the whole board. It's that concurrent, contextualized, that that helps the students see the meaning in their instruction and want to push through and lead towards it.
And Matthew, I'm just going to interrupt here and
Sure.
open it up to the field because I see a variety of people on the call. Is there anyone who has an example of an IET that they could just explain briefly to the whole group of, what your IET is and kind of how these components work together at your college or community-based organization?
Now, I want to remind you that I know what's going on at your programs for the most part, and I will cold call if I need to. So volunteers would be great.
I'll volunteer.
Thank you, Tiffany.
You're welcome. Hi, I'm Tiffany Salad. I'm at Central Piedmont Community College in Charlotte. And I was brought on just to create IETs back in 2024 for the college. And then back in this past September, I was given IELCE underneath me. And as a matter of fact, my advisor is here on the call with us today, too. So he can pop in if he hears me say something wrong. But we had a couple of IELCEs running, but the IET that I was working on was HVAC, and we had our rollout just this spring. And one big thing that I was making absolutely sure of was that my students were not having to take a bunch of different classes all at the same time. I made sure that the support class I was building is going to have all of the components in it on top of then the classes that they had to take through the HVAC program. Because at our college, to do EPA 608 certification, they had to take not just that course, which is an online asynchronous course, but they're also enrolled in AHR 110, which is the Introduction to Refrigeration. So the college was requiring them to take two content curriculum classes. So I wanted to make sure that our support class was having all of the other components of the IET all together. So one thing that I started working on was with the HVAC curriculum was seeing how I could wrap in their asynchronous course into what we were doing and using the materials that that partner gave me and then adding in our workplace preparation. So I knew we were already running digital literacy courses in CCR. So I pulled North Star, started looking at what was in it and contextualizing some of those lessons directly to HVAC. So instead of using this program here, this program here, I'm trying to build it all within the one course. And that has taken time, but I think it's coming out beautifully. All three of my students passed their EPA 608 exam. And in talking with their instructor for their course that lasts the whole semester, they're doing really well. And they're getting ready to prep resumes. We're getting ready to start some soft mock interviews with them. And I think it has really helped them having everything in one place to give them a goal of what they wanted for their career.
Thank you, Tiffany. I love that. And for the students, it's so helpful when you can really consolidate it and it has a much more kind of unified, that integrated feel. So they're not feeling like they're bouncing all over the place to a bunch of different disjointed pieces. So that was a great description. Thank you. And I see in the chat challenge being someone to kind of help coordinate it. And I'm glad you're voicing that. It is a real challenge and something that different organizations approach from different ways. So definitely continue networking with your peers about different approaches that they're taking to that. And I don't want to just dismiss it and say it's not a challenge because it is a huge challenge. It's very helpful to have a coordinator or somebody who can help put some of these pieces together, at least at the beginning when you're building it. All right, I'm going to hand it back to Matthew.
Oh, well, thank you. That was that. Thank you for that. I think it's good to hear from a program and see what's happening on the ground. We are Definitely, that is a consistent challenge, is organizing these three pieces together and making sure that they are happening in a consistent fashion is definitely a piece of the puzzle. So what is an IET? We know that they're structured in this concurrent manner. That means that these pieces are working in the same time period going. And so those three pieces that we discussed, the workplace literacy, the occupational training, and the basic skills instruction in ESL and civics all have to happen in the same time. And it all needs to be tied back to the course that they are taking. So that HVAC course that Tiffany was talking about, all the instruction, the reading, writing, and math instruction goes towards building their comfort level and being able to interact with the occupational training side. And so an IET has to be tied to a specific occupation. There are so many great programs out there that are um, uh, add-ons for across multiple that are good for multiple careers. This IETs have to be specific to a career. It has to be for HVAC or for welding or nursing. You have to be very specific towards it. And it needs to be all connected through that single set of learning objectives. And it has to be a part of a broader pathway. We're not dealing in terminal degrees. We're working with students that are on that beginning path. And so they need to be able to see that path at least a couple of turns ahead of them. All right. So how does this look like? What does this look like in real life? Well, this is an example of a Randolph manufacturing IET boot camp that they had. They they scheduled it through the cohort model, and so this is a group of students moving together through this manufacturing boot camp, and we can see that they've factored in the adult education and literacy pieces, the workforce preparation pieces, all week long, and along with a civics piece for the ILCE students. And then on Saturday, the forklift training takes place. And so we can see that they've met the needs because it's within the week. And on Saturday, the students also have the opportunity to do HSC and ESL online. And so a completion student would earn the forklift license, the OSHA 10 certification, and we're better prepared for that manufacturing class before the manufacturing class begins. So this is a prelim class that starts before. And I see Cindy's on from Randolph, and if I'm calling her, cold calling her out because I'm using her example. And if you have anything you'd like to add about this process, you're welcome to.
Sorry, I was helping a student. So do
Oh,
you just want me to go over the schedule for our manufacturing boot
well,
camp?
you talk about having this concurrent schedule and developing it for this boot camp that led into the manufacturing course. And
Yeah.
I'm cold calling you, so I appreciate your
Yeah, of course. Hello, everyone. My name is Cindy. I'm the Pathways Navigator for Randolph Community College. This is what a regular schedule will look like for a student, whether the student is in HSE or in ESOL. So their classes can be online or they may take morning classes. So they can take classes either Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, also Friday and Saturday as well. And then with the workforce preparation, that would be the OSHA 10, so 5:30 to 8:30, Monday to Thursday, and then on Friday they will have a manufacturing 101 where they will go over, the basics about manufacturing and to get them to think about taking certified manufacturing associate. Then the workforce training aspect will be the forklift training. So that will be on a Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1. And if they are a IELCE student, then they will also have Burlington English online. And they can do that at any time as they, have the time to do it. and if they are part of the citizenship class.
All right. Thank you. And do you find the cohort model? The cohort model is where one group of students, how many are usually in a cohort?
So normally about like 8 to 10 students.
Okay. So that's a solid group of students that stay together, support each other as they go through these classes together. Cohort models are tough to get together, but usually are successful, have a higher success rate than a student working through something individually because of that community aspect. Um, and so that's good. Thank you, Cindy.
Yes, and then someone also commented, how long is the boot camp last? So normally this is about 1 week.
Mhm. How does this compare to the schedule that you have when they get into the manufacturing class?
So for manufacturing, so let's say if a student is in ESL and their classes are Tuesdays and Thursdays evening, so then they will have their workforce training aspect on Mondays and Wednesdays for certified manufacturing associate, and that will be in the evening time as well, 5:30 to 8:30. And then for their civics, they will have Burlington English.
Yeah, great. Great. The boot camp helps students prepare for the IET in official, but it counts as a IET because of the forklift training at the end. Great. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay.
So here's an example of what we mean when we say a healthcare pathway, where the student finishes the IET, they know where they're going to go next and what they can do. Is it more training? Are they going to go into work? Or are they going to go get the next credential in the path? So student begins with education and support, the CNA, recognized credential, and then moving on. But we want them to continue along that pathway. And here is a picture of a phlebotomy student from Pitt. All right. Are we doing okay with any questions or any comments so far?
Matthew, I do see that Karen Hill had a question. I think it was for Cindy about how long that boot camp lasted at Randolph Community College, like how many weeks it sounds like that lasted, the duration of the class.
Hmm. I think go ahead, Cindy.
It's 1 week.
Yeah. A 1 week boot camp, and then but it leads into a longer certified manufacturing. What's the time frame between the end of the boot camp and the beginning of the manufacturing?
So normally, so we hosted the pre-IET boot camp over the summer, and then in the fall is when we started the CMFGA.
Great. Thank you. Rebecca.
Another question was, what was offered on Monday and Wednesday, Cindy? Once they're in the manufacturing IET?
It's the manufacturing course on Mondays and Wednesdays.
And then they do their
And then if
adult
they're
ed classes.
yes, adult ed,
Great.
either on Tuesdays and Thursdays,
Great.
Yeah.
or
The
if
work.
they do morning classes.
Okay.
Yeah. And see, I like this model because it mixes online instruction with the courses because that gives the student options to participate away from school, and it also that concurrent schedule can be difficult, and so it allows that flexibility to allow the student to participate. All right.
So I also want to go back to one of the questions that Tracy brought up about how does this work for people who are already working, who have a very tight schedule. So there's a couple of different ways to, it's going to be different depending on your context, but it's one thing to look at a student in your adult ed program and then try to like level them up and add more to their schedule. Um, and sometimes it's wise to get to know the student first and kind of see how ready they are to take on that additional coursework. Um, Another thing you can do is look for students who are already in the phlebotomy course or the nurse aid course and might be struggling and not realize that adult ed has resources that can help them through that course successfully. So partnering with a program that sometimes is finding students that need that additional English language support or the additional math refresher, that can be a good strategy because then it seems like it's a student retention strategy, and you're serving that student with adult ed through their um, workforce training. And that student doesn't necessarily think of themselves as an adult ed student. They think of themselves as a welding student or, an electrician student. Um, and they may not even really realize that they are also receiving HRD courses or digital literacy support or adult ed support in other ways. Um, and then the other thing I just want to kind of speak to is that community-based organizations have um, a, a lot of one-on-one tutoring taking place. And so they do have, the benefit of being able to really, in many cases, kind of tailor their support to that student's schedule and needs by matching them with a volunteer that can fit that schedule. So that is a real strength that they can bring to the IET conversation.
Mhm. And one piece that I'm seeing also is that the cohort model isn't necessarily for everyone, and it is difficult to get a cohort together sometimes. And you can develop IETs for one student uh, at a time. It is a lot of work to get it done, and you still have to make sure that you built in that single set of learning objectives. But what's nice is once you have that for one shot student for the rest. So anytime a student wants to come into that, you're approved and ready to move that forward, and so you can keep um, that IT. So doing if one student comes to you and says that they want to do something that you don't have an IT developed for, you don't have any other student interest, it's still worth going through the process and getting that student approved and into those courses that they want to take because you can reuse it. All right.
And Tracy mentioned the student can have a high school diploma. So yes, as long as the student is needing support with transitioning into post-secondary successfully, and is, needing some basic skills support, you can still serve them even if they do have a high school diploma or equivalent. Yes, IETs can be reused.
Hmm.
It's a
Please.
lot of work. So once you have it, so once you've developed a good relationship with a training partner, a workforce training partner, um, you know, ideally they're going to see all this value that you bring and how the students are really getting a much more well-rounded experience because of what you're bringing to the table, and their hopefully their persistence and completion rates improve, and they're going to be your biggest fan. They'll want to refer students to you. They're going to want to save seats for students coming from your program. And that communication is going to stay in place. So even if you have a period of time with no students in your IET, when you do have one, um, you know, definitely reuse that same IET and continue building on that relationship and that groundwork that you've already laid.
Yeah, thank you. So, what does a strong IET design look like, and what are we when we say it's designed well? Doesn't a well-designed IET still has a lot of uh, factors in it that can make it a challenge. But what we really need to do is make sure that when we're designing them, we design them strong, so when challenges arise, we know how to address them. And so one piece is that there needs to be a local demand. It's supported by local labor market. That the program is on your available in a way that is uh, supporting the employment needs of the community. And so if a student comes to you and I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but there's some jobs that aren't necessarily in your area, and So you wouldn't want to necessarily support that student through those because of the need to support the labor market in your area. All right, the clear credential. These must end in an industry recognized credential. We should not we have to have it end in one, even if it's a program that is good for the student. If it doesn't end in a industry recognized credential, not just a um, program recognized credential, it won't count. It needs to be from industry, and that employers recognize. It needs to have that single set of learning objectives that helps the instructors go through that planning process. It needs to be worked. You need to work together with your training partners to get the syllabus, vocabulary, and those things to help those students be successful in those classes. We need to see that it's concurrent. We don't ask when you're turning it in for the complete schedule, but we need to see that the hours will overlap together, that they work, that there's a uh, adult ed piece, and there is a workforce prep piece, and then a workplace prep piece, and a workforce training piece. And then advising's built in. We need to make sure that advising gives our students, the supports they need. Really, this advising and your wraparound services, we need to be thinking about those as we're planning, not when students come to us with needs. Um, and then in the end, we need an evidence plan. How are you going to collect the evidence? Are you going to put it in the, who's going to store it? Who's going to be responsible for those pieces? So you know beforehand who needs to be doing what and what needs to be known before launch. All right.
So let me just address Sherry's question about credentials and the NC
Mhm.
Workforce Credentials list. So that list is um, under revision. I don't think anyone would say, it's 100% representative of every industry recognized credential of value in our state. But I will say that our state is working very hard on updating the list and making sure to validate it with industry feedback and make sure that credentials that are not presently on the list that should be on the list get on the list quickly. And this is partly because of Workforce Pell coming at the national level and some of the federal work with delegating or really encouraging states to do everything that they can to ramp up the attainment of credentials of value. And the definition of a credential of value falls to the state to determine. And so that's why our state is working very hard on that. So our state's work kind of culminates in that list. So that's why it's a great place to reference because if it's on the list, it's guaranteed to be safe. Um, but if you have something that is not on the list, and you can make a great case for, why industry in your local region really needs a particular credential that's not represented on the list, I would say, write up your case and include it in your IET application. And then there's also a way on the list that you can recommend credentials for consideration to be added to the list. Yeah, it should be the same list that's in the IET repository, yes. And that NC Workforce Credentials list is organized into 4 different categories. Um, there's kind of a foundational category, and those are very sort of like general soft skills. They're not really tied to a particular industry, so it's hard to say that they're industry recognized. So the foundational credentials are, they're interesting, good to look at, but not where I would focus for an IET. Then your essential credentials kind of open the door to getting into a career pathway. It's your low level, entry level kind of credential for that career pathway. Then there's a career level credential that helps you kind of advance or get in at that next step in the career, and then advanced credential. And advanced credentials usually are credentials that someone would obtain if they also have a college degree in that particular field. So it's kind of that additional sort of professional level certification.
All right. Um, when you're looking at your local labor market needs, working with your local regional uh, workforce board is very important to make sure that you're tapping into the resources that they have and that they are a part of your conversation and meeting the needs of the area. And then we must talk about also MSGs and keeping the evidence and making sure that it is appropriate for what each IET has. So MSG3 is meant for if the student is taking curriculum classes, and the artifact for this one would be a post-secondary transcript. So, that would be the satisfactory progress towards the credential. And so when they finish the curriculum course, use their transcript as part of the MSG. For MSG4, this one's done for um, workplace literacy. And so if you're working with a employer and working with their employees on their property or in their supplied space, MSG4 is an agreement you have with the employer that they will, after the student meets certain milestones that they decide on, that you've negotiated with them, you get a letter from them stating those milestones and that they, uh, upon completion, will have a opportunity for either a raise or a promotion. And so that opportunity word is important because it's not a guarantee that they get that. And so sometimes employers get hung up on that language. Because certain times it's hard to guarantee a raise, but it does give them that opportunity to. And so that's what we're looking for there. And that's also, you're collecting the evidence for that and uploading it in advances as well. And then MSG5 is the pass record or credential evidence from a recognized occupational exam or industry benchmark. And so if the student is working towards a certain credential, the benchmarks that are set in that earning that credential and then leading up into that credential count as MSG5. And so examples, that's transcripts, module checkoffs, employer milestone letters, exams, pass records, and credential certifications. Credential certifications are the ones that we really are. I mean, that's the goal. We don't want to hit the first milestone and feel like we've got the MSG for the student and we're done. We really want to make sure that we're supporting them all the way through that credential certificate. Right. Any questions are going? Right. So if we're working on developing an IET, um, defining the labor market, choosing the credential and confirm its entry requirements, making sure that our students are going to be eligible for reaching those when it comes time to take the exams. You need a cross-functional team. So that you need a team that is not just within your department. You need to work also within the departments of the CE or CU to make sure that this works and for your training partners. And in that team, you begin to develop that single set of learning objectives and that contextualized instructional plan. You want to map out that concurrent schedule. Schedules change and the last minute. Classes don't run, classes don't, instructor falls off and you might have to make a change. So you really want to make sure you're ready for contingency plans as well. Name intake, support, and evidence, and those routines is to gathering the students and making sure, or I'm sorry, uh, developing the support staff and the people that are going to be developing those routines to take in the student, to have the student evidence, um, you know, documented, and then you'll submit the IET template to the IET submission team at the system office to get it approved. Um, we try to meet every other Thursday. Scheduling conflicts are sometimes it's a month out before we're able to meet. But if something is a time crunch, if you need something that is starting sooner and need it approved, uh, let me know and I'll see what I'm able to do.
Matthew, I know we're running short on time, but I do
Mhm.
want to just briefly address the cross-functional team aspect.
Sure.
So, if you are working with a training partner that, let's say it's electrical or welding or something like that, and it turns out your training partner is a great welder, which is why they got the position they have. But when you start saying things like single set of learning objectives and how are we tying our assessment together and what sort of adult education supports, you're talking educator speak, not welder speak. And they might glaze over and avoid meeting with you because they're not sure what you're talking about. And so if you are in that sort of a situation where your training partner is just all about getting people certified for their particular industry, and they don't have time to get into the weeds with you on building a beautiful single set of learning objectives and a concurrent schedule, that's okay. So you have like your ideal is that they co-plan these lessons with you and they're all in. If you can't make the ideal, that's okay because we're adult ed. Adult ed understands our students. We understand education. We understand content standards. So, just ask, can I get a copy of your course syllabus? Can I get a copy of your textbook? Can I come audit your class? Can I come sit in on your class? Can I talk to somebody who recently graduated from your class? Um, get some of those artifacts and then work backwards. And you can build that single set of learning objectives without having to overwhelm that partner. And unfortunately, that shifts a lot of the responsibility to your shoulders. So it's not like the ideal situation. But obviously, we're not all working in an ideal situation. And so I would say if you don't have that cross-functional team fully operational in that ideal format, don't let it stop you from building an IET to help your students. Um, you can do this. You can go to like plan B. So I just want to put that out there.
Thank you, Rebecca. I meeting people where they're at is what we're the best at. And so if an instructor doesn't have our language down pat, we can help them uh, along. And so that's one of our skills in adult ed and CCI that I'm real proud of. So what should we be looking at next? If you're a director, I say go back, review your current IETs and make sure that they're clear and there's demand and there's the evidence that you have from the past and make sure that it's and I would identify one to strengthen this month. Try to strengthen an IET. If you're an instructional staff member, I say revisit the single set of learning objectives. So locate where it appears in a weekly plans and shared assessments. Make sure that you're teaching in your IETs what needs to be taught for your students to be successful. And if you're in a partner, just clarify that front door, touch points, the referrals, routines, and who follows up when a risk appears. And that's the I think one of the main things that we need to do is our fall off for our students. They happen in certain spots, and so if we can be ready to catch them in those spots, we'll be ready. And usually it's in those transition points from orientation to the beginning of class. Usually about the second week of class, they begin getting nervous. So if we're able to support them through those times and let them know that they have there are supports for those students. Um, so we have 4 minutes left in our time here. I was going to do another group breakout or group discussion, but I think I'm just going to open it up. Are there any questions and or comments that you may have? You can either throw them in the chat and we can talk for the rest, or if you have an IET question for something that's going well at your college or uh, program, something you would like to share.
Put this in the chat earlier. Can CCR start with a struggling, CE or CU student during the CE class? Like, can we start a CCR IET with a student that's already struggling in the class? Or do we have to wait and enroll the IET in the IET prior to starting the class? Does that make any sense? Sorry.
It does.
Yeah.
So you're trying to have help a student who's struggling in a class create the IT from that point on moving
As you
forward.
mentioned, it would be a good opportunity if the struggling students, were you saying that we could enroll them in the IET during their current class? Or do we need to wait until they, potentially aren't successful and start at the beginning of the next?
We haven't. I haven't been approached with this question yet, so I'm hesitant to give you a full-fledged answer. My my thoughts are that you're going to have to tape the student. You're going to have to do a lot of things that are probably going to raise that student's anxiety. So that might be an issue. But
Well, so we could use alternate placement for IETs, and so
that's
that
true.
would be a good way to start. No, I
That
don't
would
know how to
be
do that. I'm going to investigate that, but I like that
Rebecca.
idea.
So I'm going to just jump in and say, Sherry, I love that you're thinking about let's get help to the student now. And that's student first thinking. And that's exactly what we should be doing. And so that might not be an IET the first time around, but if you're helping them and you're thinking, you know what, I bet there's going to be another student in this situation. We're going to use this as a learning experience, gather the information. We're going to build out our single set of learning objectives. We think in the future we would want to do alternate placement. Then while working with that student, be kind of building it and then submit it so then it's ready for that next time you have a student who's going through there. And no matter what, you're going to be supporting the student, you're supporting your training partner, you're gathering useful information, and hopefully that student will wind up with a credential attainment outcome at some point. And if you pretest, hopefully you're able to get a post-test there for that student, or at least a post-secondary enrollment gain for that student, something like that. But alternate placement does have to be approved in advance, and your IET does have to be approved in advance. But once that's approved, then if you find a student, who's kind of partway through that course and needs a referral to you, you can absolutely put them in that IET once you have it.
Oh, I just thought I might have misunderstood him, because I was like, that is a great place to find students to enroll. So thank you.
All right. Well, we are right here at 12 o'clock, and if you have any other questions, I'm going to go through the chat. So if we missed any questions, please let us. I'll reach out. But if you have any other questions, please email myself or Rebecca, and we'll be able to get back with you. And thank you for your time.
And please do reach out to Matthew and to me if you need help and just kind of want to kick an idea around, or your grant rep as well. We're always happy to be thought partners with you in this work. And just I know IETs are a heavy lift, so anything we can do to help support you, we're excited to do that.